This is what generally happens to a tier 2 girl. They follow the path that is being laid out for them. But when the parents give them the freedom and they exercise the power of choice, they become this. I'm Sagarikka, and right now I'm here to share 3 phases of my life where I traveled the road less traveled. So, the phase 1 started at the age of 15, where my parents gave me the freedom and I utilized that freedom. So, I took a year break after grade 10. Some call it a gap year, some say that it's a setback, but I call it a year of discovery and exploration. So, you picture this. One day, you're made to attend a conference. One day, you go to a courthouse. One day, you are lost in the world of stock market. One day, you do an internship in a company. How would you start looking at the world? But when will our parents give us the freedom? When will they start trusting us? Only when we show that we have a structure and that we are disciplined. Scott Peck said that there are only 2 problems in life. The first problem is lack of discipline, and the second problem is lack of love. So I had to be disciplined without going to school. So this is how I structured myself. I used to get up at 6:30 in the morning, hit the gym. At 8 o'clock, I would be back to read the newspaper. From 10 till 2, I would go to a company for an internship. Then from 3 to 4, I would attend a computer class so that I learned coding. All this at the age of 15. And at 5, I would do door-to-door selling. Sometimes I would go play the shuttle. At 7 o'clock, I would be back home, and with my father till 9, we would be discussing your favorite subjects, which is maths, physics, and chemistry. And from 9 to 9:30, I would be reading 10 pages of a non-fiction book. And before hitting the sack, I would write my diary and then go back to sleep. Monthly, I also attended a conference and I went for trekking. So this is how I structured, and structure creates transformation. And these experiences culminated into the story of My Unschooled Year, which is the name of my book. So, here are 3 challenges that I faced, but before facing those challenges, I would like to share just 2 small anecdotes or examples. One is Elon Musk once said in an interview that, in a conservative school method, when they teach about an engine, they also teach about which spanner to use and which wrench to use. But instead of that, why don't you give the student an engine, ask them to dismantle it, and they themselves can figure out which spanner to use and which wrench to use. So similarly, I interned in a steel plant, and there I was able to see directly the elongation of steel, which made me understand the linear expansion of rod. Same way, when I worked in the lab of a college, I visually saw the spectral lines of chemicals. So this road less travel, I started understanding world in a better way. Also, A.R. Rahman said in one of his interviews that the insatiable quest for knowledge comes from not studying. And he gives an example of Kamal Hassan, who had the thirst to learn. So he is a dropout. And I feel that this thirst of learning comes from joy of missing out the school, but fear of missing out the knowledge. So, sharing with you 3 challenges that I experienced and what I learned from them at the age of 15. The first challenge, do you remember when we are all made to stand on our school auditorium for the assembly? Our body would tremble, our legs would shake. And I was a very timid kid at school, so I would get scared to even ask a question. Even once in a public speaking contest, I got stuck in the middle and I started crying. So, this experience is one of the biggest challenges that we face. Speaking up, looking at someone's eye and telling our thoughts, those were nightmares for us. And the place where I was able to break this up was in a seminar. In that seminar, the guest speaker was none other than Vishwanathan Anand, the world chess champion, and it was time for Q&A. So I had a question. So I whispered in my dad's ear and I urged him to ask the question. To my shock, my dad got up from the audience and he shouted, "This kid wants to ask you a question." I wanted to murder my father then and there. But I was forced to ask that question. But after asking the question, I realized that it was no big deal. Any fool can ask a question, and it is the speaker's problem to answer. That is when, yeah, see, that is when I learned my first lesson, which is to speak up. The second lesson that I learned was that parents, they give us the freedom, but we have to navigate through it, and we have to fight through in this world. Predominantly, girl children especially are said, they are told, they are not asked, they are told to keep silent and to stay low. And we have been conditioned for many, many years to stay low. But I wanted to step up. I wanted to break this wall of shyness. And that's when I started selling products at the age of 15. So my parents put some products in the bag, and I took a list of 100 people contacts. So I thought, okay, 100 people, each person would buy products worth 5,000 every month. I might get a turnover of 5,000 into 100, which is 5 lakh rupees, and a turnover of 60 lakh rupees a year. I can buy an Audi car. And when I go to school in 11th, I can go to school in my Audi car. So with this dream, I went to the first house, and that lady asked me to get out. I went to a lawyer's house. Instead of listening to the product details, he started lecturing me about life and career. My Audi car dreams vanished. That is when I learned my second lesson, which is to be shameless. I learned that if I knock on 5 doors, at least one door will open, one fellow will buy the product, and that's how I started earning 20,000 bucks every month. I also realized to survive, I can sell toothpaste and soap if I'm being shameless. If I don't get any job, I can sell toothpaste, soap, and some makeup products if I'm being shameless. So, being shameless now has helped me spread out to 4 continents where I have my clients, because I've been shamelessly knocking on doors. Yes. The third lesson I learned was to follow my gut feeling. We all have a gut feeling to talk to a boy or a girl, to seek for help, to ask for advice, to quit our job, to change our career path. And that one small instance can change our life. Likewise, I attended a literature conference, and I saw a famous author who was standing outside the hall. He was alone. So my gut feeling told me to go and meet him. And I built up courage, and I approached towards him, and I said, "Uncle, how did you write 100 books? And he looked at me and he asked, "Do you write?" So I scratched my head and said, "Yeah, I write my diary." He said, "Great, take a printout of it, compile it, and make it into a book." And that one small idea made me write the book, which has sold more than 15,000 copies. And right now, I became the Amazon bestseller India at the age of 16. Who knew? It just happened because I was disciplined, I started speaking up, and I was being shameless, and I started following my gut feeling. Here comes the phase 2. So I shared my phase 1 of roadless travel journey. In my phase 2, I learned that my network is my net worth. One day I got a call. "Kiran Bedi ma'am wants to meet you." So I went to her Pondicherry office the next day and had a cup of tea with her. I was also one of the 3 students to be selected to meet His Holiness Dalai Lama and ask questions about life. I also had the opportunity to meet our former Vice President, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, and I had an opportunity to interact with him. It didn't stop there. Actors, authors, artists, journalists, entrepreneurs, techies, so many people are part of my contact list. And one thing that I got to know was people have experience that we do not have, or that we did not seek. And they are willing to share. Who is not willing to talk if we are willing to listen? And that is when I learned that my network is my net worth. And that is also how I started scaling my business. Here comes the phase 3 of my journey. So phase 1 happened when I was 15, phase 2 when I was 17, and phase 3 of roadless travel journey at the age of 20. So I went to UK and I wanted to do my undergraduation. So I studied in University of Portsmouth, but then I had to discontinue due to COVID. I came back home and I took up an online degree. But I had a faith. Faith can move mountains. I had the faith that I can start a coaching business at the age of 20 when businesses were struggling during COVID. So I started teaching teenagers about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs the skills of digital marketing, which made me earn over $1 lakh a month. And that faith made me move to Chennai all alone, and that same faith made me start my company. Right now, at the age of 24, I have 7 people working in that company, and I am also the leader and curator for Startup Leadership Program Chennai. All that happened because of faith, because faith can give you floor to walk on or wings to fly. With no degree, no money, and no friends, I became a seeker for knowledge and for opportunities. Life is not easy, so I didn't know how much money I was going to make, and I don't know how much money I'm going to make the next month. One of my friends, she asked me, how can you lead a life when you don't know exactly how much money you make every month? And I asked her back, how can you lead a life exactly knowing how much money you make every month? I understand that there is an invisible hand to support us if we are willing to support ourselves. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. 1 month was extremely bad. And almost when the month was about to end, I was down to 4 rupees in my account. And I had to pay a salary to 7 people the next month. When you want something really bad, the universe will help us in achieving it. It will conspire. So I took a contact list of 200 people, immediately started calling them at morning 8 o'clock till evening 5. 27 people were interested, and I booked 7 appointments, out of which I closed 3 deals in those 2 days. 3 deals worth of 2 lakh rupees, and I ended up paying salary. One fox was extremely hungry, and as soon as it looked at a rabbit, it started chasing the rabbit. The fox ran, and the rabbit ran. When the fox was about to catch the rabbit went into a burrow. The fox asked the rabbit, I'm so big and you're so small. How did you manage to escape? And the rabbit said, you fox, you run for lunch, but I ran for my life. Those 3 days, I ran for my life, and all these years, I have been running for my life. And I feel if every girl child or if every person gets this opportunity, they can bring out their fullest potential. I don't know where all this is going. My life is like, no, I'm like a Christopher Columbus. I'm still looking for the shores. Life can be a merry-go-round or a roller coaster. In merry-go-round, you don't know what's going to happen next. In a merry-go-round, you know what's going to happen next. It is very predictable. But in a roller coaster, you don't know what's going to happen next. And that's where the thrill is. And I am going on a roller coaster journey. And I don't want this journey to end. I want this journey, roller coaster journey, to keep continuing. Okay, so one of the things that I have learned is to step up, to speak up, and to be shameless. Now, this girl standing in front of you, I don't want to die with the music still in my ears. I don't want to repeat 1 year of experience 40 times. But from all the talks that I've heard and from all the people that I've spoken to, one thing that I understand is that life is nothing but an accumulation of experience. I also saw this LinkedIn study which said that 75% of the young adults, they go through a quarter life crisis. They have this uncertainty about career, they are anxious, and they have this feeling of being stuck. They are struggling. But within these struggles lies the opportunity to break free, to come out. My suggestion to parents is that if a faith of a mustard can make it into such a big tree, I think the faith that you have in your child can give it a floor to walk on or wings to fly. And my suggestion to girls is that your journey has just begun and it matters. Unleash your fullest potential. Live through your fullest potential or be in search of your fullest potential. Your journey never ends, and don't be afraid to take the road less traveled. Remember, no tree can grow in the shade of another. Trust me, if the parents can give the child the freedom and if the child can utilize it to the fullest, then there is magic within all of you. You can be independent, you can live the life of your dreams, and you can see the beauty in this world. But it all starts with being disciplined, by speaking up, by being shameless, and the universe will do its work. Never underestimate the power of a common girl. Should you hold on to this band or drop it? Your choice.